So let's hop in. Why don't we do that? So Longlegs, like we said, is from 2024, and it's about, in a pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree, and it's directed by Osgood Perkins. So Longlegs is a psychological thriller about a supernatural satanic panic killer who murders without ever touching his victims, which is what's really interesting about it. You're like, wait, how does he get in? What's happening? Yeah. And the film is a slow burn, unsettling in both themes and approach to the world. And it follows Special Agent Lee Harker, who's played by Micah Monroe, as she investigates the elusive and mysterious Longlegs, played by Nicolas Cage. Quite unbelievable performance. He's super weird, and he was having fun. Yeah. He was having fun with this part. Let me in now, and it can be nice. Make me go now, and I have to come back. Not once, not twice, but as many times as I like. Everything was very intentional. So, and she's tasked with tracking down the serial killer linked to a string of gruesome murder-suicides where entire families have been brutally slaughtered in ways that suggest a dark connection to the occult. And this killer proves more difficult than most, as the cases have far more questions than answers, many of which seem supernatural or otherworldly. And Harker is brought into the case as a fresh pair of eyes, putting her on a collision course with both the killer and her own darkest fears. The birthday murders, which is what they're called, are a series of murders spanning decades in the Pacific Northwest, following the same chilling pattern where a father kills his entire family before taking his own life. And these tragedies always occur within 6 days of the daughter's 9th birthday, which unfailingly falls on the 14th of the month. And at each crime scene, a cipher signed Longlegs is left behind, adding a sinister signature to the horrific events. And that's where like the kind of Zodiac level of it comes through. Like he made his own little code. The serial killers in movies are always way more interesting and less lame. Yeah. real serial killers, super lame. Let me tell you. Yeah. Even for Harker, who exhibits a special talent, this like smidge of premonition conveyed by intense gut feelings, the birthday murders prove a difficult case, and Harker discovers that her suspect is not only a Satanist, but also a doll maker, adding an extra unsettling layer to the darkness. She also believes that there is someone working with Longlegs, that he's not doing this himself, and that there's some kind of cahoots going on. Despite her diligence and knack for moving forward, Longlegs seems to maintain the upper hand, roping Harker into the case with a seemingly intimate knowledge of her life and experiences, operating both in the darkness and what feels like right under her nose. And as Harker digs deeper into the twisted mystery, she realizes that Longlegs is always one step ahead, pulling her further into a nightmarish game that blurs the line between the supernatural and reality, leaving her questioning not only the case, but her own sanity and her role in the whole case. Because he starts getting really close and personal.
It's like, why do you know me? You know?
Yeah. He like send her a birthday card immediately when she gets on the case. And then it's like, her partner says it too. He's just like, this was more or less like a cold case. And then we brought you on and now it's revitalized. What's up with that? And she's like, dude, I did not know.
I wish it wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted it to not.
It's unfortunate for everyone. So, listeners, are you still saying your prayers? In an article on Christ in Pop Culture titled Longlegs, Satanism, and Our Need for Cosmic Justice, writer Justin Bauer critiques Longlegs for presenting Satanism as a primary villain while leaving the hero ill-equipped to confront it. Which, yeah, I mean, that's true. What do you expect? The film concludes without providing justice or closure for its victims, including Harker, and highlights a bleak reality where serial killers evade accountability and dark forces of Satanism wield greater influence than we realize. We found that kind of in all of the films, I guess except Maxine, because that was like nothing. But as we explore Satanic Panic, all the movies are like, Satan always wins.
Yeah, Satan, you can't beat him. Why not join him? That's what
you got it. That's this movie for sure. And I will say that I will have spoilers in my section. Big spoilers. The big reveal. So if you are someone who does not want spoilers, please avoid this episode. Here's your official warning. It's happening. This idea that Satan has, greater influence, right? There's this absence of resolution that creates a grim worldview, suggesting that some horrors are beyond understanding or control. And Bauer argues that Longlegs Satanism is unrealistic in that it posits a world where the best defense against hell is a frightened cop with a gun, which was more or less the only part of his article I agreed with. Just like, I think the thesis part is where I fell off. I was like, yeah, that's true. I was like, that is what it's saying.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the problem ultimately with a lot of things are, instead of like helping people, they're like, put guns and cops and they'll solve it. And it's like, let's not solve violence with like, it's just silly. It's a silly thought.
Yeah.
And also Satan, you're gonna fight Satan with a gun. Satan probably made guns. You know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, that's the argument here is like, what Bauer wanted, because it was a Christian site, would be that they fought them with religion and won. And he posits that they lost because that wasn't the case. So just for a heads up, no one read that article if you don't want to. While Bowers is dissatisfied with this narrative, arguing that the film's portrayal of a lackluster, deaf, and uncaring God makes it an unbelievable and harmful narrative, I think it's a brilliant portrayal of the harms of extreme religion. That's what it is for me. Throughout the film, Harker's mother repeatedly asks her if she's been saying her prayers, to which Harker usually responds with like a hesitant affirmative, like, yeah, whatever, placating. And it isn't until a vulnerable moment at the end that Harker admits she has never said her prayers.
I never said my prayers, never once. They scared me.
They frightened her. And this revelation, coupled with the recurring imagery of turned crucifixes, now X marks the spot, highlights the film's subversion of religious symbols and beliefs. It's like there's an absence of God in this film, to be quite, for all of the background little glimpses of Satan there's a big deafening silence from God in this film. Like, where he at? Because in this world, Satan exists. Satan's real. Right? In Longlegs' world. God does not, because he ain't anywhere. What's he doing? Like, where you at, dude? This guy got a lot of power. How do you get that? So I see why Bauer was upset, to be like, from that standpoint. But ultimately, Longlegs conveys that Satan always prevails, lurking in the darkness and listening for the desperate prayers of neglected Christians. And by exposing Harker's mother as a wolf in sheep's clothing, someone who goes to extreme lengths to protect her child, the film presents a poignant twist on morality and the fragility of faith, because it raises critical questions. Like, what do faith and morality mean when a child's life is at stake? And what do the lives of others weigh against the threat to one's own child? She's like, I don't get, like, honestly, what's more Christian than that? American Christian than protect my own and not everybody else. And just as we found in The Witch, Satan is a strategic and patient malevolence that plays horrific games with its victims. And as Harker is compelled to kill her mother to break the cycle, we begin to question whether this was the plan all along, to terrorize Harker from girlhood to womanhood. Ultimately, it isn't Longlegs who is always one step ahead. Rather, it is Satan itself. Because Young Lee is not merely an exception to the birthday murders, but the very impetus behind them. As Harker serves as a tool for Satan's schemes just as much as her mother did. And as fellow survivor Carrie Ann Camera tells Harker in that interview that they have, she says, "You're not afraid of a little bit of dark because you are the dark." And as Harker gazes at Ruby's doll at the end, who is, Ruby is the daughter of her partner, whom she just saved by killing her own mother and Ruby's father. She confronts the trauma that she has long repressed, unable to destroy the doll. And even after her escape, it remains unclear whether Ruby is still possessed by the undestroyed doll or if Harker herself is, especially considering how much of her childhood has been misremembered due to the doll being hidden away. And in a Time magazine interview with Micah Monroe, she described this bleak yet intentional ending, saying, "Evil isn't going anywhere. That's just the reality. There really is no end." So it's an intentional, obscure ending where evil does win. It's very much the witch. If we're to believe Satan is real, then this entire thing that we're seeing, all those murders, everything else, happened for a reason, and Harker's involvement happened for a reason. It's not just by chance that they stumbled upon her mom. You can't tell me that. There's no, in what world? Like, he made a mistake? I don't think so. I think, so we're going to what I think is the biggest part of the film and my main focus for my analysis, and it's this idea of always daddy's little girl. And I did want to make a note that his name is Longlegs, like Daddy Longlegs. Okay, Harker's mother, Ruth, often emphasizes the effort she put into raising Lee to be a safe, devout, and virtuous child, sharing tales of their isolation and the significance of her prayers for their protection, which are just two women forever on their own. She says that, like, that's her bedtime story. She's like, we have always lived on our own and no one ever comes to visit us, except one time someone did. Right? And if you think about Christians, it's like, I pray every night. No one ever answers till someone did. And who was it? And so throughout Longlegs, the narrative challenges traditional religious ideals surrounding the nuclear family, while also scrutinizing the expectation for girls to be submissive and innocent. And that's the big takeaway for me. In their shared darkness, Carrie Ann helps Harker recognize the woman's inherent villainy, right? Both of them have had their girlhood stolen and have been punished by those fervently devoted to their faith simply for growing up and shedding their innocence. So they had the audacity to live past childhood, right? And it's intentional that Longlegs targets young girls on the brink of womanhood, right? Those celebrating their 9th birthday. And a chilling piece of evidence in the case includes a 911 recording of a father's desperate plea that isn't my daughter. And each of these fathers turned murderers confronts the transformation of their daughters from innocent, docile children into independent individuals with their own thoughts, feelings, and desires. Even Carrie on camera, like, besides just the father not being able to reconcile this, there's also a lack of love from her mother, who didn't even want her in the first place, which is like a different, conversation. But Perkins distorts this coming of age milestone into something sinister and malevolent, crafting a corrupted narrative of growth. And even the glam rock anthem, Get It On, Bang a Gong by T-Rex, frames the film. Its gritty sound reminiscent of the Satanic Panic era, when rock music was believed to contain hidden subliminal messages. But more than that, the unsettling contrast in the lyrics, "You've got the teeth of the Hydra upon you, you're dirty, sweet, and you're my girl," lingers disturbingly. Like, it talks about you're a girl and girlishness, but there's also dirtiness and possession in that song as well, in that it is a song about sex. and that's just the time period, right? And this casts an eerie shadow from the opening scene where we first hear it all the way to the film's final moments when we hear it again, reinforcing the themes of power, control, and corruption that run throughout the story. It's all very intentional, right? Even the weapon of choice, which is a meticulously crafted doll that embodies porcelain perfection, expresses this message of eternal girlhood, purity, and safety. Moreover, the dolls store the girl's being into its silver ball of control, forever freezing them in this moment in time, in suspended youth. And Harker's mother explains to her before her corruption is revealed what her motivation had been. Because Ruth didn't do this to let Lee live, but to give her the chance to grow up.
So that the little girl named Lee would be allowed to grow up.
She, like, flat out tells her that. She's like, you got to grow up. And she's like, got to? Like, what do you mean got to? Right? Because the man downstairs preyed upon the father's fear of losing their baby girls. But its mission becomes more complex when he faces Ruth, the only single mother among the birthday murders. And unlike the fathers who were affected, Ruth was not afraid of her daughter growing up. Instead, she feared a future in which Lee never did. Right. So in Longlegs, the haunting exploration of girlhood reveals how societal expectations and familiar pressures can distort innocence, exposing the pervasive nature of evil and the complexities of faith and motherhood, ultimately suggesting that the traumas of childhood leave lasting scars that shape our identities and experiences as we confront the darkness within or around us.
What? No way. Trauma impacts us? Crazy.
In ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. I definitely, yeah, I agree with that. I didn't even like think about it like that until you were saying things, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I think Longlegs is a great time. I do think it's like a one-time watch personally, because like it's the same thing. Like I want to go around and watching Zodiac a million times. It's fun that first, or even 7. Like once you know, it's kind of like, okay, that was fun.
Yeah,
we were trying to solve the case, and now we solved it.
You watch like maybe just like see what the clues if you pick up more, but that's like
I don't know. I saw them all the first time. Watching it the second time with you, I was like, yeah. That's the same thing. Yeah. I didn't get anything new. Researching it, I did though. But yeah, tell us what you think about Longlegs. Remember to like and subscribe. It's really supportive. It is spooky month, so hoping to see that influx of people listening and watching. And yeah, what do you think about Longlegs the Killer and Satanism and the birthday murders and all that jazz?
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Yes, and don't get married.
They'll eat your kids. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, maybe you do them in. You don't hug them.
Yeah, hug your kids. Tell them you love them.
Yeah. It is not an inconvenience for you to love your kids.
Have affection and empathy.
Don't know why I have to tell you this.
Develop it. You know?
Yeah. Or maybe don't have kids. You know, like, not everybody has to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially people being out there like, a child is an inconvenience to my way of life. You must be silent. If that's you, don't have it.
Don't do it.
Nobody wants to be here and not be appreciated for being here.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.